What's up, guys and girls? So the purpose of this video today is to show you how to install the latest beta version of Raceflight. It's a little bit of misconception on how to do that, and I want to show you exactly where to find that out. Second of all, I wanted to show you today how easy it is to flash the Raceflight flight controller. And third, I just wanted to welcome all my new subscribers, and hopefully that I can provide you with some good content that may help you in your future quadcopter and 3D printing endeavors. So with that being said, stay tuned to find out all you need to know about how to get the latest beta version of Raceflight on your quad. Alright, so first thing you're going to have to do is, if you're not already signed up for a Slack account, you will need to do that. And in order to get to get an invite for that, you will need to go to the Raceflight homepage. It's raceflight.com. And then you're going to have some tabs across the top here. You'll go to support right up there, and then you'll need to scroll down past the Facebook stuff, and then follow the directions here in order to get into Slack, setting up your account, and getting into the Raceflight 1 group. So once you follow all these steps here, then you will get into the Raceflight Slack page. If you want to know the address, it's up there at the top here. But if you'll notice here, you've got different channels in Raceflight. So when you first get in here, you'll just have general, and you will need to sign in or get accepted to the test monkey actual channel within the Raceflight 1 Slack channel, because you've got different channels within that particular umbrella. And then, in order to find the files here, once you get into the Test Monkey page here, if you look right up under at Test Monkeys, you'll see a star, view members list, and then you'll see pin post items. You'll need to click on that, and then now these will be pins that are posted directly to the Test Monkeys channel within Raceflight. And if you'll look, scroll down through to all these pin items, you'll look right here, there's a new configurator. Which is not going to take you to the site. It's going to take you to a special download spot there. You'll download the correct for your version of OS. And then you also look down for the latest Revolt, whatever number it is, which in this case is 475.bin. Now, there's going to be times where there's not going to be a new configurator. You're not going to see a new configurator, but you'll see a new bin version. Basically, all you'll have to do is just go to the just the Raceflight download page. Go back to raceflight.com, go up to Home, Software, then Download, and then you won't have to worry about downloading the firmware versions down here. You'll just download your version of configurator here if there's not a later version on the Test Monkeys Slack page. Alright, so once you get all that downloaded, of course, make sure once you download the configurator that you unzip the file. That way you can get into its contents. And there's sometimes when you have the file still zipped, I know you can double click it and still open it up and look in it, but sometimes when you leave it zipped, it will cause an error and it won't work correctly. So make sure you unzip it. And then my recommendation is see if you can look at my screen here. I have all the different versions here downloaded, all the ones that I've done, and I kind of keep them in a nice one folder of Raceflight. Technically, I could go delete these later versions, but if you have problems, you may need to go back and use the latest version of the configurator. And then I also put all my bin files in the same folder that I've made up. That way they don't get lost and you're not dealing with a bunch of other files in the way and you don't accidentally load the wrong thing. So you'll notice I have the latest configurator that's on the Test Monkey, and that is .475, and that's as of today, January 20th, 2018. and then I have that latest bin file of 475. A lot of times the actual configurator and the version will be with the actual version of the firmware, but I don't. It's not going to let you. Like, say I wanted to install firmware 226, most likely, I mean 426. Most likely, it's not going to let you use the 475 configurator. All right, so we're going to be back in just a second. I'm going to take the camera off my face, and then we're going to put it on the quadcopter so you can see from start to finish of how to install a firmware. The point of this part of the video is I'm going to show you how to install the firmware on top of seeing what I actually have to do on the quad to install the firmware. Alright, so here's my cable here, micro USB, and I'll go ahead and I will plug it into my flight controller. Alright, and then I'll go over here to the actual configurator, and then I will open up that folder. Then I'll go down to raceflight.exe, double click that, and usually on your first opening of that file you may get something protected, but as long as you know where you're downloading it from, you should be okay. You know, from the test monkey, should be good, especially if it's got Preston written on it. It's pretty trustworthy. So we're going to go ahead and run this file anyways. Alright, so and then now you'll notice that Raceflight opens up and it says your flight controller version is 055, is not supported by this configurator, a minimum of 472, the latest version. So of course that tells me that I am going to have to upgrade. So this is why I keep the other configurations, is I may have to use the old configurator upgrade it, but I'm going to try to use this first part here. Tell you what, just to play safe, we're going to go back and use the older version to update the firmware first, which is 26. Go ahead and double click that. Pops me right in, and then up here in the top right hand corner is where you're going to have to load it. Alright, you're going to go up here to update firmware. Alright, it clicks off. Don't just update firmware here, you actually have to reboot into DFU mode, but I do not have to do anything on the flight controller. I don't have to push any buttons, anything like that. Reboot into DFU mode. Now we're going to do upload the firmware, which we don't want to, we're not going to upload to 426 again. We want the latest version we got here, so we're going to go to, I want to load my own firmware file, confirm. Now you need to find wherever folder you put that firmware at, but I put it in here, and our latest version is 475. So I'm going to double click that. Now it's going to load and it's going to flash. We don't want to disconnect. We don't want any power outages, that's for sure. And just, it's going to erase the chip and upload it. And once I plug that USB in, before I ever open the configurator, I did not have to touch that flight controller. Didn't have to worry about a boot button. I did have to boot back into DFU, and I know you can do that with Betaflight by just typing in DFU, but sometimes I still have problems with that. I haven't had an issue with Raceflight on that. I'm just waiting for this board to finish rebooting. It's going to automatically boot in for me. And if you look at the top right hand corner, you'll notice the top part of the version up here at the top is your version of your configurator, which I need to boot out of this and go back into the other configurator, because if you look up there, I'm still using 426 configurator. So let's close out here, and now we'll go back and we'll go into the 475 configurator now that we've got the updated firmware. and it should boot right in. We haven't set the board up on the new firmware here, so continue. Tranis. No, I don't need to watch video. Tramp. TX3. Next. Next. Do you want to run reverse props? No. Alright, so we're back in. Now we want to recheck our versions in the top. Just make sure everything's lining up. You've got your version of your firmware at the top up here, which is 0.475. You got your FC version, which is the firmware that's actually installed on your FC, which is 0.475.145. And then that's just to confirm that you got the right stuff and you're running the right stuff up there with your numbers. Your numbers should match. The firmware will never be higher than the configurator, so just keep that in mind if you're having problems or if things are not acting right. You want to run the highest level configurator you can with the firmware, which would the firmware is always going to be higher or the same number. So that's just a little quick thing how to install the latest version of Raceflight, especially the beta version. So let's turn this camera up so you can kind of know that I didn't split off everything. I'm going to have a few cuts in the video to kind of make it a little bit quicker, but overall in the experience here, everything is going to be not as cut as much as I can, unedited video as much as I can. Only way I'm going to edit it is just to keep the video a little bit shorter. But I hope this has kind of been helpful to try to get you that latest, greatest version of the firmware, which I have found that usually, obviously, is the better one. So hopefully we don't have any issues out of it. I haven't really did any research. I just know that this is the latest version. I've heard a few people say that it's pretty good, and I'm going to take and check it out. So hope it's been helpful, and y'all have a great rest of your day. The Rock out.
Make the ground shake.